How's it going, everybody? This is Rob and Novakast back with another video, and with this one I wanted to do a quick review of the game that recently came out, or at least as I upload this, known as Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. And to an extent, I've had some questions about it, but not all bad. Just for one, I'm just gonna say right off, this is a fun game. Just so you guys are clear, this is a fun game, but there's a glaring issue that I do want to address. That unfortunately, if you go online, especially like going over some of the reviews, like especially from people like IGN and many other like organizations or people, it's not discussed. And I'm hoping that by talking about it, there's a chance that maybe some people will pick this up, or if anything, discuss it and bring it up to the company THQ and maybe get it fixed. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk about this particular game. So before we get started, I guess I should give a little bit of a backstory for those who have never played either the original games or the remake, because at this point, context matters, especially with everything. So, to start us off, you play as a alien known as Cryptosporidium. Well, technically, Cryptosporidium 138, due to him and the rest of his race, known as the Phurons, having the ability, or at least the technology, to clone themselves in case of death. And at this point, or at least in the previous game, we played as 137, and through his adventures was collecting brain stems that contained basically dormant DNA of their race inside the DNA of humans. So there's that. And by the end of the first game, we go through America and basically overthrow the president, and through a disguise as the president are able to kind of cull and control humanity to get, I guess, for the Phurons to get what they need when it comes down to DNA collection, so on. Now, with this game, we play as 138, who is still disguising themselves as the president, but in this current time, whereas the first game was mostly set in, I think, roughly the 50s, this one is placed between the 60s and 70s. We play as, again, Crypto 138, who goes on a path of vengeance, so to speak, when his mothership is destroyed, as well as his captain and scientist, Orphopox, is also killed, but is, transferred, or their mind is transferred into a drone. And the Russians, who inevitably caused the attack, are attempting to create or cause massive damage to the planet, and it's up to Crypto to figure out what they're doing and stop them, so that way they can continue to, destroy all humans. That is the basic story of Destroy All Humans 2. Although what kind of helps with the ridiculousness of this game is the comedy. Now, one thing that I don't know if you can count it as a controversy, only to, the special few, is the fact that when it comes down to it, some of the comedy is raunchy. And this is, I think, like an early 90s game, like when it first came out. So to an extent, it is basically there's no, gray area of what they want to joke about. When it comes down to it, if they want to joke about something, they will. Not to the levels of, the creators of South Park, but to a degree, it's comedy. Which, again, this is a time when people were allowed to make jokes about things, as well as, making a lot of references to, a variety of different things, depending on which area you're exploring in the game. Whereas at one point we go to England, we are, there's a lot of references to spies, as well as spy films. when it comes down to Bay City. There is references to the hippie culture. Not to mention a very funny situation where I had a quick chuckle where it's supposedly set, I believe, in San Francisco. And to an extent, the bay is called Michael Bay. And the island that is placed within this area is called The Rock. In case you guys are kind of wondering, you guys will get it. It's for those who have seen the movie. Just type in Michael Bay, The Rock, Sean Connery, and Nicolas Cage. You'll immediately get it. But overall, I think when it comes down to story, what it really helps it is, again, the initial, comedy that is placed within the story. It even helps too, especially with the optional dialogue options when you are communicating with different characters. Now, let's move on to the next segment, and that of course being gameplay. Gameplay is probably like the best aspect of this particular game, allowing you to use a variety of different weapons and abilities. And when it comes to upgrading, they did it in a very creative way, where they added, instead of just using the brain DNA or Furon DNA that you used to collect in the previous game, now throughout each area that you have to traverse, there are Furon tech that you have to collect, as well as use to upgrade your weapons abilities, as well as your ship. You can also collect these Furon techs through the variety of different side quests and story missions. And on top of that, you also get as you're progressing through the missions, you also get side objectives, which will allow you to access a additional set of Furon tech to, again, upgrade your abilities. In terms of dialogue, again, you have the main dialogue for the campaign, but you also have witty dialogue that you can use, or dialogue options, where it will give you multiple versions of like what to say or what to talk about, and it will add to your experience depending on what you choose. Some of it's really funny, some of it is very reference filled when it comes down to like a lot of movie references, which, by the way, you will get a lot of that throughout the game, which honestly, going back to it, adds to the comedy of what you're being presented with. By the way, speaking of dialogue, as an alien in the game, you have to blend in, and to an extent, it is an interesting upgrade from what we had to experience for the first game when it comes to blending in to now. Whereas the first game, you created a hollow projection of a NPC to go over yourself. In this version, you literally, I guess for the best word, force yourself into the mind of the NPC that you're trying to portray yourself as. And to an extent, that also adds to funny dialogue options when it comes down to, certain characters and gameplay, depending on, what you're discussing at the time. And as you're inhabiting the body of these, individuals, there are chances where, at least when it comes down to it, there is a meter where it will slowly go down, and depending on what you do with this NPC, it will go down faster, depending on, again, if there's physical harm that's caused to them, if you fall off a ledge, go into water, etc. And it even shows more, and people become more suspicious when it starts going into the red, and we see, or at least it shows, the NPC flailing their arms around. Now, you can replenish the health bar, so to speak, for the NPC by using one of the abilities known as Free Love, which is basically an ability / mechanic that makes a group of people dance. which, by the way, is one of the mechanics that will help you to try to avoid any sort of suspicion. If somebody, starts to look at you the wrong way, you can use free love on a crowd, and everyone will dance and give you the opportunity to escape. Which, that also adds to gameplay too, where some missions need you to even start a mission, by the way, need you to be disguised as a particular NPC. And also, with certain missions, you have to, again, display yourself as an NPC in order to do it, to avoid any suspicion. But besides that, all in all, gameplay is probably like the best aspect of the game, bar none. It's fun, chaotic, and all out wacky. Now, at this point, I want to talk about going further into the review, talk about audio. And although there's not much different compared to the first game, I should mention that there is one thing that's different and one thing that needs to be fixed. But we'll get to that in a second. I guess, first off, talking about voice acting. Voice acting, as well as, voice lines, seems to be ripped from the first game, which I believe is something that they did exactly from, or at least not from the first game, but for the second game, and is something that they did exactly for the remake for the first game. So, to an extent, and it sounds amazing, by the way, where they did this whole thing where they ripped the audio to be formatted for this particular game. Music, and this is actually a pretty cool thing where they use music, or at least copyrighted music, but comparatively, which I've seen more and more with recent games, you can have the option to choose stream-friendly, and when I mean that, I mean copyright-free music throughout the gameplay. So I think that is a really cool added feature when it comes down to, audio, where if you're playing, or if you're a streamer, or if you're one recording the game itself, you could literally switch to stream friendly, and it will play music that is, for the most part, more accessible for you to use for, recording gameplay. Now, there's one thing I should mention, and I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised that a lot of people are not talking about it that much, and that, of course, being audio glitches. And if you guys watch my Let's Play Part 2, you guys will see it where there are moments, more specifically towards the cutscenes, where there is some kind of audio glitching, where it seems like certain audio cues or sounds will repeat, characters will repeat the same line twice, or if anything, audio within the cutscene is missing. There's one particular scene where there are certain noises that are supposed to be heard, but are left absent. And again, I've tested this 3 times already, and unfortunately, it was the same result time and time again. So, but above all, when it comes down to it, I think that is... No. Now, before I get into final thoughts, I do want to talk about graphics and style, because, let's face it, as cartoony as this game is, it's gorgeous. It really is. The worlds itself that you get to explore and destroy look amazing comparatively to what we've seen. And by the way, again, this is coming from somebody who has not played the original games. I had to look at how everything looked in the first game, and I believe this was like a PS2 game. So all in all, it looks gorgeous comparatively, especially with how many years in between both games. The character designs themselves have been, aggressively upgraded to an extent, and I say aggressively because there is a lot of detail to each character. Crypto already having, major updates to for the remake, as well as apparently having darker skin color, or at least kind of more of a purplish gray to his skin. Whereas the first game, it was more of a like gray. This one is more of like a purplish gray for him, comparatively to his previous counterpart. Water, cityscape, everything looks just downright amazing. Character designs, especially for the humans, some of them are somewhat cartoonish in nature, but then again, this is kind of like a very cartoony game. Some of them seem over-exaggerated for the most part. And above all, just, I can't say enough, it is beautiful. To every little detail that we see in the game, it looks amazing. It really does. So, in reality, there's not much I can really say that is negative or very critical, because, again, they put a lot of work into, or at least it's displayed that they put a lot of work into, creating a great remake of a very fun and very well-known game that a lot of people enjoyed in the past. Alright, now, let's finish this off by discussing final thoughts. And honestly, it goes without saying that I do enjoy this game. Just above all. Story itself is interesting, as well as very comedic, with a lot of references to movies and a variety of other things. Character design, graphics, etc. is, a great upgrade compared to what we have experienced, or at least a lot of people have experienced for the previous game. Sound design, and when it comes down to sounds, it's awesome that they added the option of, switching back and forth between stream-friendly music and, the music that they chose for the game itself. However, when it comes down to it, it does kind of falter a little bit when you're trying to follow the story as well as audio, and more specifically towards the cutscenes, there is a lot of audio glitches. As well as gameplay, it's fun, chaotic, destructive, and I love it. As well as when it comes down to, some of the weapons and abilities that you have, it's a lot of fun. It's a sandbox game where you can do what you want. So, above all, fun game. Has its faults, which, to an extent, I'm hoping that maybe one or two people will see this and then share it to THQ, and inevitably can get it patched up. I don't know. But regardless, it's a good game. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 8 out of 10. I honestly would want to give it a higher level, but I have to kind of set down the bar or take a few points due to, again, the audio glitches. But above all, 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the game. I wish they would have had that fixed before releasing it when it comes to audio. And honestly, it is a great remake. I enjoyed it. And with that, guys, I have to end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys have any thoughts, leave in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. And I will see you guys in the next video.